So there was one thing that I know of that I forgot to do, and that was to set up what happens when we submit the edit. So let's quickly do that. It's kind of related to webhooks, so, you know, I'm only human. Let's jump in. And when someone clicks edit, it comes up with the edit form, obviously. And on submit, what we want to do is just create a new action. This is going to be client, and then I think I called it edited request. Let me just see if that's consistent with, well, edit request. We'll leave it edited. So again, close the overlay, show a notification, and that is going to say request edited. And then we'll have a webhook. But what we're going to do is start from the start, making our way down the page, adding all the webhooks that we need. So the first thing we actually have to do, and this at this point in the project, this isn't actually necessary. Instead of having a webhook, we're using the webhook to do two things. One, to notify us of the client or the user making changes or submitting feedback or anything like that. And the other is to let the client know when we do something. For example, upload the draft and do that. Now, you can set up actions where it composes an email for you that you can send out, but I prefer to have things completely automated. And to do that, you can harness the power of webhooks. Now, the tool we're going to be using is called 𝗏𝗡. It was formerly 𝗕𝗲𝗏. And what we're going to do is use Glide to send information to 𝗏𝗏 via a webhook. And then 𝗏𝗏 will decide what to do with that information. Is it going to notify the client of something? Is it going to send them an email? Is it going to notify us of something? Etc, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into 𝗏𝗏 first, and they also have a totally free option. And so both of these tools are free. You can get up and running at zero cost. All you need to do is commit to actually building something. So let's jump into 𝗏𝗏 and let's create a new scenario. And I'm not going to do too much of an overview of 𝗏𝗏 itself, but you can think of 𝗏𝗏 as a tool you can use to automate tasks and integrate applications, so connect applications. So in this case, we're going to create a new scenario, and we can call this scenario Glide router. And this is when we're going to use those routes. The first table we kind of enter data into, this is where we're going to use those routes. But what we want to do first is click this plus button, and we want to search for Glide, not 𝗏𝗏. We want to search for Glide. And we want to watch for a new action, right? So this action will trigger when Glide tells it to. So we click that. And we've got to create a new webhook. So we can add a webhook, and this is going to be called the Glide router. So we've created that webhook. We copy this web address. We're going to jump back into Glide. And what we're going to do is for this button, let's do the top button that you can't see right now, but we can still edit the settings. So we'll jump into the hint, and where the new request button is, we're going to, we actually can't set that right now because the visibility is hidden. So let's we may have to actually remove that because we can't open the form screen while it's hidden. We have to actually click into it to do it. So let's just remember that we've got to reset this. So when the queued count equals 0, and the request left is not 0. So now we can actually click in, and now we can edit that request. So if I had switched to another user, I probably could have done the same, but let's roll with this. So what we want to do here is trigger a webhook. We jump into this settings, and it says we have no webhooks configured yet. Now, if you remember in the beginning, I said you can only create webhooks. You can't edit them and you can't delete them. So this is why we're using 𝗙𝗲𝗁𝗵 to keep everything nice and clean with one webhook, and then we do the logic in make or in 𝗙𝗲𝗁𝗵. So we're going to call this the same thing, glide router. We're going to paste the URL and we're going to click save. And nothing's going to happen. Okay, it's there. So we've created the webhook in make. We've copied that address. We've come into Glide. We've pasted the address. We've clicked save. And it's come up with a number of different URL and password combinations sort of thing. So the next thing we want to do, and this is really, really important, we want to add the first bit of information is going to be called the route. So we're going to say the route. And this information is going to be a static piece of text. So let's just call it ABCD for now. So we're going to click out and we're going to click save. And what we want to do is go to that webhook table that we created, find the corresponding webhook. So in this case, it's client creating a new request. And we want to copy this little route number or string. Now, in the past, I've tried to use text, I've tried to use the name, I've tried to use a number of things. For some reason, the only thing that works consistently is a short string like this. For some reason, it doesn't pick up names or strings with spaces in it or dashes or anything like that. So this is why we did all this random stuff to create just a random string. So we're going to copy this, we're going to go back, we're going to edit this action, and we're going to say the route is this particular string. Then we're going to add about 10 values. So we're going to say this is 10 different things. So we've got to name these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 9 and 10, not 9 again. So we want to make sure that the information we're sending goes through. So we're going to just, this is just to set it up. So this might not make any sense right now. But don't worry, it will. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I can count, 9, and 10. So when the client clicks that button, it's going to close the overlay. It's going to say, hey, good job, the request has been submitted. It's going to set the status and a few other things behind the scenes to what we want it to. And then it's going to trigger a webhook. And that webhook is going to send 11 bits of information. The first bit of information it's going to send is the route. So we're going to use that to filter and direct where this information goes and what make does. And then we're just going to generically create 10 other pieces of data. So we have those options available in Glide. So what we're going to do is click save. And then we're going to set up the webhook in Glide. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, run this module. And now this webhook is waiting to receive information. It's like, okay, well, I'm just kind of going to tick over and wait for some information to come through. Now what's going to happen is we're going to actually create something. So we'll just say this project is called Webhook Setup. This is for the webhook. It's going to be Facebook post, landscape, blah, blah, blah. So now when I click this, this will send the webhook to Glide. So hopefully it goes through. Bang, there you go. We've received the information. And we can see here we've got the route, or the route, however you want to say it. And then we've got 10 other bits of data that we can use in the rest of the webhook setup. So that's exactly what we wanted it to do. And what we want to do now is add something called a router. So we'll bring that over and we can just tidy it up. And this router, the information from Glide is going to come into this router, and then this router is going to send it off in different directions depending on what that route is. So what we want to do is now create a route, and this is going to be, you can just go straight to, for example, the email that you want to send them, but I use a service called Pushover, and this is basically just a notification service that sends straight to my phone that tells me when people do things. So in this case, I want it to let me know that someone's created it, and then that might be all actually that I need. I just need to be notified that someone has submitted a new request. So what we're going to do is we're going to search for Pushover, and we're going to send a message, and this message is going to be, let's just say, new request submitted. The message, if we are sending data over, what do we want the message to be? Maybe the client name. So if it's a new request, we're going to send the email, the client name, or name of the project. Anyway, it's not important. What I'm going to do now is just say that the value number 3 that we send is going to be the client name. So we don't need to actually change anything else. What we do need to do is only trigger this particular notification, which is the new request submitted. We only want to trigger that. So new request submitted when the route that comes with the webhook is equal to that one that we had before. So 𝗙𝗲𝗁𝗂. Right, so when the route is equal to this, you're going to send me a notification saying there's a new request that's been submitted. So let's save this and let's see if it works. So what I'm going to do is create a new request, and this is going to be testing. Oh no, what I want to do is first edit the action, because I want to set it's this one. I want to edit the action, and this I want to be not the number, I want it to be the user profile email. I want this to be the user profile first name, and I want this to be the user profile client name. So we're going to follow that order. We're going to say we want the user's email, we want their first name, and we want the client name. And we're going to try and keep that consistent throughout the webhooks. So let's save that. And let's do another test. Test webhook. And we can just make this garbage. Fill out all the required fields. And we click submit. The request has been submitted, and I can test whether or not it worked. It doesn't look like it worked. So let's try and figure out why. Oh, I didn't turn it on. That does help if you turn it on. Process existing. Okay, my bad. So, I don't know if you can see that, but it says, well, you can't see it, but it says Marble Maestro has submitted a new request. So that's exactly what we wanted it to do. And so we know that that webhook is working now. So we don't need to let them know that their request was successful because they were the ones that submitted it and we showed them a notification. What we do want to do, however, is be notified when they edit it and be notified when they delete it. So we're going to jump into the webhooks. What's the next one? Is edit request. Okay, so let's set up that webhook. Before we do, I'm going to fix that that visibility that we had. So when the queued count equals 0, or was it and? See, this is what happens when you mess around. And request left doesn't equal 0. So and request left doesn't equal 0. Yep. Okay. That seems to be okay, except why is this showing? Oh, because they've used up 4 requests. So there you go. This is now showing because they've used 4 requests. So what we want to do is come in and actually delete those 2. And you'll see that this was not set up correctly. It should be and. Yep. So it can be a little bit fiddly, but you'll get the hang of it. So now let's try the edit webhook. So when they click edit, this is going to pop up and we want to edit this action. What we want to do is add a new trigger webhook. The webhook we want to trigger is just our glide router. And we want to add the route. And this is going to be a custom figure and we can just leave that like that for now. And in this case, we can just add 3 pieces of data. We don't need everything. What we can do is add the user email, the user first name, and the client ID of that user, or the client name, excuse me. So we can save. We go back to our webhooks, we grab this little route, we edit the action again, and we change this to this. We click save. So now that's going to send it over, but we haven't set it up in Make yet. So we go into Make. And now that it's on, it should work straight away. So now we want to set up a new action. And this is going to be a pushover action that sends a message to me, letting me know that they've edited. So edited request. And this can be, again, this is the client name. So you could add, for example, you could make this more like natural language, like, you know, Marco edited their request. In fact, let's just do that just to edited their request. So if you remember, the number 2 value that we put in the webhook was the name of the person, just the first name. The number 3 was the name of the client, the business, and the first one was the user's email. So if we just click OK, and then we filter it out and we say this is client edit request, and we want to make sure that the route that comes with the webhook is equal to that. And I'm just going to change the name of this to client new request. We don't need it so big. So we hit save. We come back here and beautiful dark. I'm going to change this to beautiful dark marble wallpaper. We click submit, and surely enough, Matteo edited their request. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. So that's all working. Now we want to know if they delete a request. So we do the same thing. We go to delete request, and when they click this delete request action, we want to add a webhook, right? We're going to add the route. We have to select it first. We're going to add the route and just a few values. You don't always have to put the 10 values, but I found that it's just much easier if you just give it a number. This is going to be the email. And we're not using it all at this particular time, right? We're not using the email, but we may want to in the future. So why not just set it up now? Get the first name and the client name. And the route is going to be a custom set of digits on string. So then we go to our webhooks. And this is just for reference. Like, this table doesn't actually interact with the app in any way other than give us a little string we can use and kind of store, basically. So we edit this, we come back and we say that we want that to happen. So we save. Then we come here and we add another route. And this is going to be just a notification saying that the name, or the value 2, deleted their request. This is going to be the client name. We click OK, and my OCD is telling me to come in and change this. So we're going to come in and change this, and we're going to make this their name. Submitted a new request. So now their name is kind of there. We've got to add the filter here. So we're going to say this is client deleted request. And we want it to do this particular thing when the route is equal to this. Okay, so the webhook is sending the information, and then the router is deciding where to send it and what to do with that information. So we click save. And when I don't want to delete this one. I'm going to create a new one. So delete me, blah, blah, blah. Instagram landscape, JPEG, submit. So that's sent off the webhook. I've got a notification on my phone that's just popped up now saying Matteo has just submitted a new request. Then what we want to do is delete that request. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to click delete request. And I should, if it's set up correctly, unless I just messed something up. No, Matteo deleted their request. So we're getting notified on our phone or whatever you want. You could change that. You could make it an email sent to you. But we're getting notified when someone creates, edits, and deletes a request. The last thing we want to do is set up what happens when someone submits feedback. So I believe that's the next webhook that we have. Yes, we want to be notified when the client has submitted the draft feedback. So this is in this table now. So we go to this table and we view the details. And you can see here, if you remember, maybe I'll change the status of this project just for this scenario. So the status is needs feedback. Let's change the project to blue and gold. I just changed the wrong thing. What did I change? Oops. stages. I don't know what I just changed. Oh well. So unfortunately, that's still got that. So I'm going to remove that. Let's just say that their draft feedback ID is not that, and they have not submitted draft feedback. And we'll get rid of the final feedback too. So we come back here. So they haven't submitted any feedback yet. When they click this button, we want it to obviously let us know that they've submitted feedback. So we come in here, we edit this action. Again, we're going to create a webhook. We're going to trigger this webhook. And we want it to trigger the glide router. You know how it works. 1, 2, 3. If I can click properly, this is called the route. This is a static value. And then these are, depending on who the user is, these are dynamic values. First name and client name. So that is just a random value. We save that. We go to our webhooks. We look for the draft feedback webhook route number thing. We come here and we add it in. We click save. So now that's going to send off a webhook with that information. And in fact, what we might want to do is you could include the actual feedback if you wanted in that notification. In this case, I don't really need to. What I might include is the status, right? So let's actually go back and edit that webhook. And let's add a fourth piece of data, which is going to be the draft feedback. Oh, maybe we haven't, did we get a feedback lookup? No. Okay, so let's set that up. Let's just quickly set that up. So in projects, we want to, when they, I'll just check quickly. Did we have it? Do we have it? No. Okay. So let's add another column and let's make it a lookup, and we want to look up the draft feedback name. And this is going to be feedback status, let's call it. And so where can we put this? We can put this just after the... Oh no, it is there. My bad. But we don't have the name for it. Yeah. Okay, so we have the actual item that will pop up, but we don't have the name. So let's add that now. So this is going to be number 4. And this piece of information is going to be the draft feedback status. We could call it name actually to make it a little bit more consistent, but it is what it is. We can save that. So now this is set up. We got to go into make and we got to set up another route. And this is going to send us a message in pushover. And the message is going to be that additional piece of information that we just added. So this is going to be the status. And then what we can do is put the name left or left draft feedback. You can just say that. So it's going to be Matteo left draft feedback, and then it's going to be the feedback status that is actually also included in that. So we need to make sure that this only happens when the route is the specific route that we just set up. So this is going to be client draft feedback. You could say just draft feedback. And we only want to do this when the route is equal to whatever this little webhook number or string is. So we click OK, we save it, and we come back here and we test it. So Matteo is happy with no feedback. What's going to happen now is, if you remember, it's going to not only send us a webhook, but it's also going to change the status of this from needs feedback or feedback needed to finalizing. So when we submit feedback, you can see now it's in the finalizing stage. Our little coder or graphic designer is working away, and I've just received a notification from Matteo saying he's happy and he doesn't need any feedback. So we're on track, guys. We're almost there with the webhooks. What we want to do on the client side, we have a few stuff to set up on our side, but we'll do that at a later stage. We have one more thing to do, which is notify us when they submit the final feedback, if they do. So let's get on to that. Let's just change this status as complete. So you can see now it's complete. And when they click this submit feedback button, I almost got confused there. When they click this submit feedback button, we want to add a webhook. This is for the final feedback. Of course, again, it's just going to go to glide router, and that's going to tell us what to do with the information. So we can say this is just info 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be the email. This is going to be the first name. This is going to be the client name. And just for example's purpose, we can actually leave the final feedback snippet of text that they leave. We can send that as the fourth piece of information. Now, again, you can change the order of this. This always has to remain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah. But these, you can change the order. I just like to keep it consistent because it just makes sense to me. So the one thing we want to do is go here and just type some gibberish for now so it saves. We come back to the webhooks. We look at the little snippet here. We edit this. It's the same process. So once you understand it, how to do it once, you've got it for life. So we've saved. Now we need to set it up here. It's going to be the fifth route or fifth action. And this is going to be that first name left final feedback. The message can be the actual entire feedback. It might be too long, but must be at most 1024. So this might actually break it, but I'm just doing this for example purposes. So we click OK, and we only want this to trigger when the route or the route is, this is going to be client final feedback. Okay. Save. Then we come in here, Matteo can leave some final feedback. This is freaking amazing. Submit feedback. Let's see if the Matteo left I can't even speak anymore. Matteo left final feedback. This is freaking amazing. So I'm not going to jump the gun. Let me just see. Okay, so all of the client webhooks that are related to creating requests, edit requests, deleting, leaving feedback, they're done. Now, what we're going to do is continue to build the other pages. And when we get to our dashboard as an admin, where we see all of our projects and stuff, don't forget this is the user dashboard. When we build our dashboard, we will finish off those final webhooks, and that will be sending not information to us, but sending information to the client or the user, letting them know that A, we've created the draft, that we've accepted their request and we're working on it. Then the next notification the user will receive is that their draft is ready for review. Then it's the last one is that their final one is complete and they can access and leave some final feedback. There is one more webhook that we will create, which is the ability to invite clients via email to join the platform. But again, we'll get to that at a later stage. So client webhooks done. Let's move on to the next page, which is the media library for finished projects for the user. So we'll see you there. If you enjoyed that video or you found it useful, then I highly suggest you subscribe and hit the bell icon because I have a ton of low-code videos and tutorials in the pipeline for you. And if you like the idea of becoming a low-code developer who can create anything their mind can imagine without code, head to loqode.com and sign up for one of our online bootcamps. See you next time.